Our Earth has a surface area of over 500 million square kilometers. And did you know that 65% of it has never been explored? Well, lucky for you, that's what we're doing today. Now, you might think you know everything with your smartphone and your AI bots, but when was the last time you explored the world outside your screens? Today, we're going to step into the deepest parts of Earth where you'll find all kinds of unimaginable things. I'm talking underwater, underground. We're even heading to the planet's core. If you traveled to the deepest points of Earth, what would you find? Lost cities? Mythical sea monsters? Rivers of gold? Probably not, but there's still a lot to discover, so join me as we travel deep underneath the surface to explore some of the most inhospitable places on Earth. What lives at the bottom of the Mariana Trench? How much of the ocean is unmapped? And what is mined deep below the Earth's surface? This is What If? And here's what would happen if you explored the deepest points on Earth. When you're deep in these caverns and trenches, the Earth can feel like a pretty cold place, but in reality, it's getting hotter and hotter. And not in a good way. Climate change is a pressing issue that affects every corner of our planet, from the highest mountains to the deepest trenches. But did you know that the term carbon footprint, which we often associate with our personal responsibility in the fight against climate change, was actually popularized by the fossil fuel industry? Yeah, back in 2004, the British oil and gas multinational BP launched a campaign that introduced the first carbon footprint calculator, shifting the focus onto individuals like you and me, instead of the industry itself. Since then, it's spread like wildfire, encouraging individuals to measure their own carbon dioxide emissions. Now, while it's true that our choices matter, the real impact comes from holding industries accountable. After all, the energy sector is responsible for 73% of global emissions. If you want to help reduce those emissions, the best thing you could do is vote with your wallet for sustainable energy solutions. And ask your elected representatives to stop tolerating extensive lobbying for the fossil fuel industry. Together, we can push for the changes needed to protect our planet. It's getting a little hot in here. Let's go back to the cold, deep depths of the Earth for a moment. Not many people can claim that they've been to the deepest points on Earth, but Victor Vescovo can. From 2018 to 2019, Vescovo led an expedition that visited the deepest points in all 5 oceans. The 5 Deeps expedition covered 87,000 kilometers in just 10 months and completed 39 dives using a small submarine. For your trip, you're only going to visit one trench, the Mariana Trench. You'll need to save about $750,000 for the trip, but you'd be one of the few people to explore this deep. What would you see as you descend? First, you'd need to travel to Japan. From there, you'd take a submarine about 2,000 kilometers out into the Pacific Ocean. Challenger Deep, the deepest point of the Mariana Trench, is almost 11 kilometers below the surface, and it would take about 2.5 hours to reach it. There will be a lot to look at in the beginning of your descent. The first 200 meters below the surface is where most ocean life thrives. As you travel deeper, it becomes darker and the less wildlife you'd see, though you'd still get to witness the occasional whale diving for food. You'd see your first deep-sea creature, the fangtooth, at 1 kilometer below the surface. This appropriately named fish is 16 centimeters long with 2 giant teeth. To make room for them, the fangtooth has 2 sockets beside its brain. As you travel deeper than 2,500 meters, There are no more whales. They don't usually dive down this deep. But when you hit 8,000 meters, you'd encounter the Mariana snailfish. At this point, the atmospheric pressure is nearly 1,100 times what you feel at sea level. If you weren't inside a pressurized submarine, it would be like having the weight of a fully loaded truck on your head. Those little snailfish out there must be pretty strong to withstand all this intense pressure. Eventually, you'd reach the very bottom, the Challenger Deep. If you look closely, you might spot an amphipod species, Hirondellea gigas. These small, deep ocean creatures are only about 3 centimeters long. And that's about it down in the Mariana Trench. No secret treasures, hidden cities, or sea monsters. Next, it's time for you to travel to the world's deepest sea volcano, the West Mata volcano. This underwater site is located southwest of the Samoas. You'll need to rent another submarine to travel down 1,200 meters below the surface. But since you just visited the Mariana Trench, it should be no problem for you. If you're lucky, the volcano would be active and you would enjoy seeing lava fountains and glowing bubbles. Just be careful of all the debris that erupts into the ocean. Both the West Mata volcano and the Mariana Trench are natural deep points on Earth. But what about something that's man-made? The Mponeng gold mine is the deepest operating mine in the world. Around 4,000 miners work in it every day. And despite safety precautions, it's still risky. In March 2020, a seismic event killed 3 miners who were 3.5 kilometers below the surface. To get to the mine, you'd need to travel to the Gauteng province in South Africa. You'd take the elevator, known as a cage, with 119 other workers until it reaches 2.5 kilometers below the Earth's surface. As the elevator doors open, you'll notice the heat. It's about 30 degrees. And that's only because the mining company has created a system to cool down the air. Without fans blowing over a mixture of ice and salt, the mine would be a whopping 60 degrees. Why? Because you're so deep in the Earth that its inner heat is warming up the surrounding atmosphere. You'd only be 2.5 kilometers underneath the Earth's surface. To go lower, you'd need to walk or drive the rest of the way. You'd be at the bottom of the mine when you reached 4 kilometers. That's as deep as 10 Empire State Buildings. Luckily, there are no cave creatures to worry about down here. The only life down here, other than the miners, is monotypic bacteria. While the Mponeng gold mine is impressive, all of the deepest points on Earth are in oceans. According to NASA, over 80% of the oceans remain unmapped, unobserved, and unexplored. And if we want to continue to explore these areas, we're going to need to take better care of our planet. Look, everything you know and love had to be discovered at some point, which is why we're going on today's adventure around the globe. Now, speaking of discoveries, can you believe that 95% of the ocean is still undiscovered, unexplored? I think we need to pay more attention to this. Like, what are they hiding down there? For this next video, I was hoping to go to the Mariana Trench, the deepest place on Earth, but my friend or my colleague, Chase, insisted on going. I can't get a break from that guy. He's a total adventure hog. Today, Chase is going to spend 5 seconds in the Mariana Trench while we keep him company. Let's dive in, shall we? Get it? Dive in?
It's taking a bit of hit from the pressure, but yeah, I can hear cracking everywhere. Hey all, it's Chase, back to life again. What if guy doesn't give me a break with all his moons and planets? But I got something in mind. Today we're doing something new. So I'm somewhere 200 kilometers east off the Mariana Islands, and as you can say, it's beautiful, but I'm not here for a tan, although that would be nice. But no, I have a mission to complete. A mission to explore the deepest depths of the ocean. The Challenger Deep in the Mariana Trench. Nobody has ever attempted to do it.
I don't know what planet you're coming from, but actually quite a few people have been to the bottom of the Mariana Trench. And back, too.
All right, but has anyone been to the bottom of the Mariana Trench outside their submersible, huh? Thought not. This guy is gonna do it for the first time. Now, before you say I'm crazy, I'm not going there in just my schmexy undergarments. I'll be wearing my super advanced spacesuit. And if my spacesuit can survive space, I think it can survive a little bit of the underwater pressures of the ocean. Rico, how deep are we going?
The Mariana Trench is the deepest place on Earth. Its maximum known depth is 10,184 meters. The trench is crescent-shaped and stretches 2,550 kilometers in length and 69 kilometers in width.
Ooh, that's deep. Well, no going back now. I got my camera set up and everything, so I'm ready. I'd tell you what type of camera I'm using, but no one's approached me for a branded content opportunity. Hashtag no free ads. Okay, let's get down there and see what this Mariana Trench is all about.
Approximate descent time, 2 hours 30 minutes. We are at 100 meters, descending into the epipelagic zone.
So far, I'm enjoying this. It's nice, it's bright down here, it's beautiful.
Well, of course, the epipelagic zone is also known as the sunlight zone. It's still the surface layer of the ocean, so a lot of the sunlight comes through. 90% of all sea life lives in this zone.
90% of what? There's nothing down here. I don't see anything.
Well, you might have scared all the life away with your submersible.
You might have scared them away with your overdramatic voice. Okay, hey, it's only been 3 minutes in and it already is getting really dark. Really dark. Rico, can we go back? I've actually decided this underwater mission is too isolating, you know? I think I prefer space. Nice, safe, cold, safe space. It's a safe space.
Does this have anything to do with your bathophobia?
I am not afraid of baths. You know, bathophobia actually isn't the fear of baths. It's the fear of really deep, dark places. You know, I'm not saying I'm comfortable with all these like hauntingly cold and eerily silent, extremely crushingly pressurized depths, but you know, that's just a secret. We can keep between you and me. Okay?
The submersible is on autopilot, heading to the Challenger Deep. I could reroute the course if you want to abandon the mission.
I'm not. Just maybe some encouragement would be nice, Rico, okay? Have a heart.
I don't have a heart.
Of course you don't. Well, then download one. It's just water. Okay. Hold on. I just gotta reboot these lights. I'm just gonna somebody turn this off.
Proximity alert.
I'm not ready to die this early in this video.
Running the system check. System check complete. You are not dying.
Yeah, I knew that.
Your elevated heartbeat and shortness of breath indicate increased anxiety levels.
Yeah, I knew I was fine. I was just, I was caught by prize. You know, it's a big whale. Okay. Pull yourself together, Chase. It's just a little deep, dark water. That's nothing to be afraid of. Guys, you won't believe it. Something just attacked my submersible. I'm not scared though.
The submersible has endured an encounter with a sperm whale.
No, I read about sperm whales. They hunt squid, not submersibles.
That is correct. However, sperm whales use echolocation for hunting, and it appears the submersible's sonar system has interfered with a sperm whale's echolocation clicks.
Great, now I just gotta cross messing around with a giant animal off my bucket list. Dope. Rico, tell me I'm still on course.
Negative. The whale encounter has resulted in a course deviation of 12.5 degrees. Recommend recalibration of navigation parameters to correct course.
Great. Now it's gonna take me even longer to get down there. This video's ruined. Please don't click off.
Course correction in progress.
Oh, hey, this is a scenic route. Whoa, those jellyfish are glowing. Hey, this isn't so bad. It doesn't even feel like it's, a deep, dark, crushing silence of the dark ocean. It's not so bad.
Some jellyfish produce light through a chemical reaction within their bodies. This is called bioluminescence.
Of course I know what bioluminescence is, Rico, okay? Stop ruining the moment.
Approaching the depth of 2,000 meters. Elapsed mission time, 32.2 minutes.
It's gonna be almost 2 hours before we get to the Challenger Deep. Feels good, The deeper I go, the less chance of another whale strike. Freaking whales. Did you see that? Is that a megalodon?
Megalodons have been extinct for 3.6 million years. My systems have picked up a giant squid.
You know what? That's good. I don't think this sub could take a hit from a prehistoric mega shark.
It was the giant squid, and you're lucky it didn't hit you. These guys are attracted to light, so your submersible is like a beacon to them. Giant squid are about 13 meters in length and can strike a submersible with their tentacles. This won't damage it, but it would be unpleasant.
Oh, look, it's another bioluminescent thing right in front of us. God, that is ugly as hell.
This is anglerfish. My data suggests it uses bioluminescence to attract prey.
Okay, well, yuck. Let's get out of its way.
Entering the abyssal zone.
Oh, eerie. Is that burning? What is that black smoke?
Oh, that's coming from a hydrothermal vent. And it's not smoke, it's mineral particles.
I detect a temperature increase.
Yeah, the water around hydrothermal vents can get as hot as 378 degrees Celsius. Fun fact, this still doesn't make the water boil because the pressure at this depth is more than 400 times greater than the pressure at sea level.
Okay, Rico, science time. Let's get closer.
Not recommended. Approaching the hydrothermal vent will cause damage to the submersible from the intense heat and corrosive fluids.
All right, Rico says we can't get too close to the hydrothermal vent because it'll, kill me and stuff. And despite what you guys might think, I don't have a death wish. Yeah, not much to see here. Finally, some rocks! I can't tell you how happy I am to see something down here.
You are exiting the abyssal zone and entering the hadal-pelagic zone. The rocks mark the beginning of the trench.
Cool. Let's Let's do this thing! Okay, guys, it's go time. I'm going in to the Mariana Trench. Rico, stats, please.
The temperature has dropped to 2 degrees Celsius. The pressure exceeds the pressure at sea level by 600 times.
That sounds like it's gonna be hurtful.
Indeed. Under this extreme pressure, your body would experience lung collapse, nitrogen narcosis, decompression sickness, molecular damage, and death.
Oh gosh, almost all of those sound terrible. Well, my camera battery's running low, so I'm gonna turn it off until I get to the Challenger Deep. I don't really expect much to happen for the next couple thousand meters. I might as well check out the What If Explorers Club on Patreon for all that sweet exclusive content. Don't worry about me. I may have overestimated my sub just a bit. It's taken a bit of hit from the pressure, but yeah, I can hear cracking everywhere. I guess it's now or never. My mission is to step out into the bottom of the Challenger Deep and last for 5 seconds. And I'm feeling pumped. Yeah, I think this is gonna go really well. Going up.
I don't think he survived this. Well, nothing new. And don't worry about Chase. He always comes back to life for another not-so-death-defying adventure. This is the deepest hole mankind has ever dug. It's a straight drop into the bowels of the Earth. For 20 years, Russian scientists and engineers drilled deeper and deeper, hoping to uncover whatever mysteries the hole may hold, earning it the ominous nickname of the Well to Hell. What would happen if, for whatever reason, you fell into this hole? What would happen to your body? How deep would you fall? And what would you find at the bottom? This is What If, and here's what would happen if you fell into the deepest hole on Earth. So, you managed to take the plunge. You'll start plummeting at about 10 meters per second, and every second after that, it gets faster. If we take terminal velocity out of the mix and assume you weigh 80 kilograms, you'd eventually reach a speed of 490 meters per second. So, as you fall deeper and deeper, what would happen to your body? Falling at such high speed, you'll start to notice things getting a little toasty as your heart rate starts to elevate and panic sets in. You might find it getting a little harder to breathe. Why? Well, at 150 meters down, your poor lungs would be getting crushed by the constantly increasing air pressure. You might also encounter what cave explorers like to call foul air, deadly underground pockets of carbon dioxide. Great. Things can't get much worse, can they? Yeah, they can. Less than 3 kilometers into the trip, you're going to see your skin start to burn up. Literally. And as you continue to fall, it only gets hotter and hotter. This is because you're being pulled closer to the gravitational center of Earth and its molten core, which is baking the planet from the inside out. A temperature of 80 degrees can severely burn a person's skin in less than a second. At this point in the hole, you're feeling heat of over 180 degrees. On the bright side, you've probably already passed out. When you fall out of a plane, you can pass out from lack of air but wake up as oxygen becomes more available and catch a glimpse of the ground as you smack into it. Down here, you're not waking up. Okay, so things don't look good. But let's say you came prepared and wore an atmospheric diving suit to help with the increasing pressure as you fell. It's heavy, but it will help with that breathing problem. In 2016, Luke Akins jumped from over 7,600 meters without a parachute and survived without a scratch. Granted, he'd landed in a net, so if he's allowed to have one, you can too. Okay, so you land in the net. Great. Including your terminal velocity, you have successfully managed to freefall 12 kilometers straight down at a speed of 200 kilometers per hour. How long were you falling? Well, factoring in air resistance and terminal velocity, the whole trip took just over 3 minutes. And now, you've got to get back out. This is not going to be easy, but it may not be impossible. In 2018, Alex Honnold managed to scale Yosemite National Park's 914-meter tall El Capitan granite wall without ropes in just 4 hours. Granted, he wasn't wearing a huge suit like you are. This big outfit wouldn't help you climb, and you would need some climbing equipment to help you get a better grip on the walls of the hole. But what's it like down there? To answer that, let's flash back to 1971 in the Kola Peninsula of northwest Russia, to be exact, when Russia began work on the Kola Super Deep Borehole. Measuring in at just over 12 kilometers deep, the Kola Super Deep Borehole is the deepest hole humankind has managed to dig on Earth. Team Kola had managed to break the world record for drilling depth, trying to get a leg up on the US during the Cold War. Eventually, though, they encountered temperatures of 180 degrees, which melted their equipment, so the hole was capped in 1992. When you're at the bottom, you'd find things are warm, to say the least. Not to mention, your body would be dealing with air pressure equal to 54 elephants perched on top of your head, weighing in at a whopping 378 tons. Talk about a headache. At least you could admire some of the 2.7 billion-year-old rocks down there. But really, could something like this, falling down this hole, ever happen? Who knows? To be honest, we're still trying to figure out the equipment requirements for digging this deep, let alone finding someone crazy enough to take the plunge. Luckily, the Kola Super Deep Borehole only has a diameter of 23 centimeters, so it's too narrow for you to trip into. And even with its record-breaking depth, the Kola Super Deep Borehole is only a fraction of the thickness of the Earth's crust. You know, when I was a kid, all I ever wanted to do was play outside. One time my neighbor, Jeff Schufelt, and I were digging a hole in my backyard, and he told me that if we dug deep enough, the hole could come out the other side of the Earth. But my parents didn't let me get that far. But now we're all grown up, and you and I are going to dig that hole together. Who knows where we might end up? But before we get to that, let's talk about the Bermuda Triangle. Did you know around 50 ships and 20 airplanes have gone missing there? I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound like a coincidence to me. Call me skeptic if you want, but something about that place spooks me, and I wouldn't risk going anywhere near it. I think what we should do is just throw everything we don't need in there and keep our distance. I mean, we know it's going to disappear anyway, right? Like into the void? What if we sent all our trash into the Bermuda Triangle? I think that's pretty smart. You guys think that's smart? It's one of the most dangerous and mysterious places on Earth. It's home to dozens of sunken ships, plane crashes, and dead people. It's known as the Bermuda Triangle, and it's shrouded in mystery. So, what would happen if we decided to dump our trash into it? Where would it go? And what mysteries would we solve by doing this? This is What If, and here's what would happen if we dumped our trash into the Bermuda Triangle. The 1.3 million square kilometers of ocean that is the Bermuda Triangle goes from Florida to Puerto Rico and then all the way to Bermuda. Since the 1800s, there have been nearly 1,000 reported incidents of people mysteriously disappearing in the area, ranging from small bush planes carrying just 2 passengers to ships 150 meters long carrying over 300 people. So, if we decided to put our trash here, would that disappear as well? Before we even think of dumping our garbage into the Bermuda Triangle, we first need to figure out exactly how we'd get there. Naturally, we'd take a boat, as we're going to dump our trash into the sea, and a boat would allow us to carry more and be more accurate as to where we want it to go. Now, you might be thinking that this is an incredibly risky move. Going right to the center of the Bermuda Triangle? Are you insane? But there's a pretty good chance that we'll be just fine. There's a number of theories, some good and some bad, as to what really happens in the Bermuda Triangle. Is it some crazy alien portal that's abducting all our humans? Is there a massive underwater city that's underneath it? Or is there a scary sea monster living in it? As fun as these theories may sound, they're all incredibly far from the truth. Sorry about that. One of the more plausible theories we have about the Bermuda Triangle disappearances has to do with methane explosions. The theory is that these methane explosions come up from the ocean floor and erupt so violently that they're able to tip even the most massive ships. But since this theory has been proposed, physicists as well as ocean experts have debunked it. They've said there's virtually no chance of a methane explosion being big enough to topple over a boat. And if there was a massive explosion, there's a good chance the ship would survive. That's because boats are built to handle massive changes in the water, including huge waves and even methane bubbles. So, now that we're here with our trash, we can finally dump it. But now it seems to be just floating there, living in the ocean. Where's the giant sinkhole that makes all our trash magically disappear? You know, the same place that's taken all these planes and boats over the years. Well, it turns out that the Bermuda Triangle isn't all that dangerous. Sure, it may be a little mysterious, but all these disappearances can be attributed to severe weather, massive waves, and human error. The Bermuda Triangle isn't even the most lethal body of water in the world. That title can be given to the oceans in East Asia and Australia. And although nearly 1,000 deaths in the past 200 years might seem like a lot, it really isn't when you consider the fact that the Bermuda Triangle is one of the most heavily traveled areas of ocean and sky in the world. So sure, we'll need to watch out for any hurricanes and big waves, but that'll be the least of our worries for now. We just dumped tons of trash into the ocean. We thought that maybe the Bermuda Triangle would somehow get rid of it. This was a really dumb idea. Unfortunately, what we just did probably won't even be all that noticeable in the sea. An estimated 14 billion tons of trash is thrown into the ocean every year. Let's say we threw all of New York's trash for a year into the Bermuda Triangle. That's 14 million tons of garbage. It might sound like a lot, but it would only be a tiny fragment of the rest of the trash that's tossed into the ocean each year. This was a pretty terrible idea, and definitely not one that should be attempted. And it's not for our safety, but for the safety of our ocean. Instead of adding to the problem, we should be helping to solve it by doing our best to clean the ocean.
What if you dug a hole through the earth? What would it take? How fast could you travel to the other side of the earth? How deep have we made it already? This is What If, and here's what would happen if you dug a hole through the earth. We all heard the rumor as kids that tunneling through the earth would take us to the other side of the world. Sorry to crush your dreams, it doesn't really work that way. Most people would end up in the middle of an ocean if they tried digging through the earth. It may work in some places. If you lived in Beijing, then you'd surface in Argentina. And from Madrid, it's a direct route to New Zealand. But how far would you get? If you could dig a tunnel through the earth, it would be 7,918 miles long. And if you jumped right in, it would only take you 45 minutes to reach the opposite side of the earth. Of course, in all the excitement, you might forget to grab onto something once you popped out, at which point you'd fall right back to where you started. So far, human digging has only made it 0.1% of the way through the earth. In the 70s and 80s, the Soviets attempted to drill as deep as they could into the Earth's crust. They made it down 40,230 feet before temperatures of 570 degrees melted their equipment. But with a magic shovel, a superheat-resistant suit, and some special boots to hold your footing on molten rock, you might fare a little better. The Earth's interior is composed of 4 layers. The outermost shell is called the crust, which runs about 30 miles deep. And for every 0.6 miles of depth, the temperature goes up 77 degrees. The average human would suffer hyperthermia after the first mile. But since you're so well equipped, you get to dig down to the mantle. Digging through this layer would be a particular challenge, since it makes up over 80% of our planet's volume, and it's all hot liquid rock. Also known as the asthenosphere, this layer is responsible for tectonic plate movement, and it's the reason why we have mountains, volcanoes, and earthquakes. Not only would it be a sluggish task to dig through thousands of miles of molten rock, you may have to dodge a shifting continent in the process. Eventually, you'll make it to the cooler layer, an ironic descriptor, since the temperatures at Earth's outer core range between 7,200 and 9,000 degrees. This layer won't be any easier to get through than the mantle, since it's a shell of liquid iron. But try not to do too much damage with your digging. The outer core gives our planet its magnetic field, and we can't live without it. Finally, you get to the inner core, and it's probably where you should consider ending your journey. We're not quitters at What If, but we do care about your well-being. And take our word for it, digging through the Earth's core would not be fun. The inner core is essentially a large white-hot ball of solid iron and nickel. It's solid because the pressure from 3,218 miles below the Earth's surface is so great it prevents the iron from melting. So with every scoop of your shovel, the liquid iron from the outer core would simply fill in the empty gaps and solidify. In order to make it through, you'd have to work much faster than is humanly possible. But that's no challenge here. The challenge, however, might be mastering the floating dig. With a significant amount of the Earth's mass above you countering the force of gravity from the rest of the world, you'd be rendered completely weightless. Hence the floating dig. But with unlimited time, anything is possible. And somehow you make it through the core. Your journey out of the center of the Earth would be even harder, since gravity would be pulling you backwards the whole way through. When you finally break ground on the opposite end of the Earth, assuming you don't surface in the middle of an ocean, then you better be satisfied because the way back would certainly be closed. So that's one way to travel, and we mean one way literally. Please do not try this at home. If you want to travel across the world, buy a piggy bank. Save your lucky pennies and someday you'll get there. It may take longer than 45 minutes, but don't let that stop you from dreaming.
All right, now that we're so good at digging, why don't we build ourselves an underground home? Well, we're going to build the world's deepest bunker so you can hide away from the world and leave all your worries above ground. Bunkers were used in the First and Second World Wars to shelter soldiers from their enemies, but these days, some people build them for everyday use. Look at billionaire Mark Zuckerberg, for example. He's building his very own luxury bunker in his home in Hawaii. His bunker is said to be 5,000 square feet, but we're willing to break that record today. Let's take a look at how you can build this huge bunker, what you'll be eating, and how long you can survive underground.
Hundreds of meters underground. Large enough to house tens to hundreds of thousands of people. And walls strong enough to withstand the force of a nuclear blast. These are some of the world's deepest and largest bunkers. But even in an apocalypse, you wouldn't be completely safe in one of these. Earth-penetrating weapons, like the 1.2 megaton B-83 warhead, can demolish bunkers 300 meters deep. What would it take to build a deeper bunker? What would life be like inside it? And why can living underground be dangerous? This is What If, and here's what would happen if we built the world's deepest bunker. The deepest hole in the world, the Kola Super Deep Borehole, penetrates about 12 kilometers deep into the Earth's surface. In comparison, underground bunkers are usually built at much shallower depths. One of the deepest bunkers in the world, the Cheyenne Mountain Complex, is only about 610 meters deep. So what's the problem? If we can dig thousands of meters into the Earth, what's stopping us from making a bunker just as deep? The truth is, we do have the tools and technology to build the world's deepest bunker. The only other things we'd need are lots of time and money. Lots and lots of money. As we dig deeper and deeper, the soil pressure will continue to increase. It'll become expensive and difficult to keep the hole from collapsing in on itself. We could use sheet pile walls to support the soil pressure,
They're commonly used in construction and excavation, but the deeper we dig, the harder it is to construct the walls. Another way we could work around this is to dig narrower and narrower as we reach the bottom of the hole. It would look similar to an open pit mine. The soil would be stable without the need of any support. Then, all that's left is to build the bunker right in the middle of the hole and fill it back up afterwards. Sure, it'll be safer, but ridiculously pricey and time-consuming. Some of the most expensive bunkers cost millions of dollars to build, so it's safe to say that building the deepest bunker could easily cost a fortune. But what if we had the money and resources to build the bunker? What would life be like if we had to stay down here? Now, don't be expecting a 5-star bed and breakfast. You'll be surrounded by thick, tightly sealed concrete walls, so no gas, water, or radiation can get through. And before you get settled in, you'll need to make sure that the bunker has a reliable power source underground, a good filtration system, and an ample supply of food and water. The food down below in the bunker wouldn't be much different than what astronauts eat up above. Your diet would consist of dehydrated or freeze-dried foods to prevent spoilage and to save space. That is, until hydroponic farms can be built. This is what farming could look like in an underground bunker. Instead of soil and sunlight, some hydroponic farms use nutrient-rich water and artificial light to grow plants. Not only that, but by using aquaponics, fish and plants can be farmed together, even indoors. Eating fish can help provide us with an essential nutrient that we'll definitely be lacking underground: vitamin D. Sadly, if you're living underground, you won't be able to get under the sun and work on your tan, but there are much bigger problems you're going to have to worry about. Most of the vitamin D we get is from the sun. We need this vitamin to keep our bones strong and healthy. Ultraviolet A and ultraviolet B rays from the sun are also essential so that we can make vitamin B in our bodies. It helps boost our immune system, and it keeps us happy and energized. Woohoo! A lack of sunlight can cause other health problems too. It can cause seasonal affective disorder, a type of depression that occurs in fall and winter when there's less light. The sun also helps to keep our circadian rhythm in check. It's the body's internal clock and helps to regulate our sleep patterns. Without the sun, people in isolation have slept as much as 48 hours at a time. Maybe we could use LED lamps to provide artificial sunlight and a diet with a lot of vitamin D-rich foods. Okay, now that everyone has enough food and light, there's one more important thing that we'll need to take care of: the community. With everyone's lives confined to the bunker, staying connected will be ever so important. You'll need to rely on other people as you adapt to this new lifestyle. Creating a normal life in the bunker where kids go to school, adults go to work, and each person has their own room can help everyone adjust. Building the world's deepest bunker might keep you safe from what's happening on the surface, but making sure everyone is healthy underground is just as important.
Deep beneath the Earth's surface, there's a scorching ball of iron, surrounded by an ocean of boiling hot liquid metal, the Earth's core. It's as toasty as the surface of the sun, with enough heat to brew more than 1 trillion cups of coffee per hour. That's over 100 coffees for every single person on the planet. What if this sizzling core suddenly cooled down? Could our planet still function with a frozen core? Or would we just become another lifeless rock orbiting the sun? This is What If, and here's what would happen if the Earth's core cooled down. Ever since it was formed, the inner core of the Earth has been losing heat, but it's still blazing hot, around 6,000 degrees. Of course, no one has ever been to the center of the Earth. The unbearable heat is one of the reasons you don't want to get any closer to it. If only it cooled down a bit, maybe we could go and see what's inside our planet. And if all our guesses about the Earth were right. There are many things on Earth that make life possible. Our geomagnetic field is one of them. It protects us from all kinds of space radiation, including highly charged particles constantly blasting from the sun. The magnetic field acts as a shield and deflects them around our planet. That way, no solar winds can strip away our atmosphere, which is also an essential element for life here on Earth. And guess what? This magnetic field is generated by the Earth's core. As the planet spins, the two parts of the core, the inner solid core and the outer liquid one, move at different speeds, generating electric currents. Those currents generate our geomagnetic field. If the Earth's core cooled down, it wouldn't produce any currents. The Earth would lose its magnetic field. If that happens, be ready for all kinds of bad things. Because no magnetic field means no atmosphere. And no atmosphere, well, in short, the Earth would start looking a little more like Mars. No breathing exercise could calm you down, since you wouldn't even be able to breathe without a pressure suit and an oxygen mask. Since the frozen core wouldn't heat up rocks, water, gas, and other geological material anymore, the Earth itself would be getting colder and colder. On the other hand, volcanoes would no longer be spewing lava, continents would stop drifting away from each other, and earthquakes would completely disappear. Nobody could survive on that Earth for too long, but it would be a good simulation of life on Mars. Who knows, maybe we'd have enough time to pack up our stuff, jump on a spaceship, and get off of this planet before it became absolutely dead. But if someone very curious decided to stay on Earth and to finally drill a hole into the core, try to convince them not to. The core may have lost all its heat, but the pressure there would still be 3.5 million times higher than it is on Earth's surface. Anyone bold enough to go down there would be squeezed into the core, becoming one with the Earth, literally.
Ah, that was incredible. You did an amazing job today. Thanks so much for going on this deep dive Earth venture with us. Now, be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for further explorations like this one. Here at What If, we like to travel to outer space, we go back in time, we save certain animals from going extinct, we do a whole bunch of cool things you don't want to miss out on. Now, that's all the time we have for this adventure, but we'll see you on our next journey.